I just asked them I asked them if I knew them. Maybe I didn't remember them from something. And they said, well, we work at Crater Lake. And I said, oh, that's great, because then I knew they were there and they knew Matt. So that's how they knew me. And then I just said hi kind of thing. And I just continued on, kept working. And yeah, before they left, I stopped by their table one more time to see how everything was. And they told me. Yeah, they said they took a vote and decided they should tell me. They said, we took a vote and we think there's something you should know.
Prior to that, were you at Dad's house ever?
What do you mean by ever? I've been there.
Prior to that, did you ever see a picture of Matt and a girl?
Oh, right.
Objection leading.
Overruled.
I did. I was at Matt's dad's house hanging out with his girlfriend, and we were on the computer, and we were looking at photos, and there were photos of a girl with the file name was just a B, like that was the initial maybe. The file names were B, B1, B2, B3, that kind of thing. Yes, I could tell that it was in the lodge. It's called the Great Hall. It's in the lodge of the dining room. That I couldn't tell. I didn't look at the date timestamp, but it looked current. Yeah, this occurred after that, so it made me kind of put the two together, but not right away. But yeah. I asked them a few more questions. I asked them what her name was, and they said it was Bianca, so that's when I put the two together. Yeah. Yeah. They said Bianca. I didn't know her. It was slow. I asked my boss if I could leave early. He said yes. So I could go there and find out if it was true. Right. It's 70 miles. Well, it's through the mountains, so it takes roughly an hour and a half, I think, if I remember correctly. Yes, I did. No, he was in Borrego Springs during that time. Borrego Springs is either a city, I think. I've never actually been there, but it's in Southern California near San Diego. And he was trying to get seasonal work during the winter at a resort there. I wanted to ask Bianca if that was true. I didn't know these people. If it's true, then obviously I don't want to continue in a relationship with Matt. And if it's not true, then, I don't know who these people are, so I didn't want to just take their word for it. Well, I went to the dorm on the top of the mountain, and I just walked in. People are everywhere. Yeah, right. I did. She was in her dorm. Yes,
Objection leading.
Overruled.
I did. Right. No, I
Are
didn't.
you causing a scene?
No,
Are you pounding on her door to let you in?
no. I knocked loudly so she could hear, but I wasn't pounding. She and a friend came to the door. Well, the friend took off, and she let me in. She said she knew who I was. I guess she knew me. I'm sorry. She let me in, and then we sat down, and I asked her, and she said that they had been seeing each other. Well, I said that I've heard that. I don't remember my exact words, but I asked her about her and Matt, and she confirmed that they had been seeing each other.
Judge, I agree with defense counsel. I'm having a very difficult time.
I'm
here.
sorry.
Push that back just. All right.
Okay.
Now try it.
Okay.
Okay. So she confirms for you that Matt is actually seeing her?
Yes.
Is that what you just said? Okay. How did you feel?
Well, at the time I'm in her home, I'm not going to freak out or anything. So
We're talking inside. How did you feel?
I didn't feel good. I felt very deceived, obviously, because he's still sleeping with me. He's still coming there to my house on the weekends. we're going places. I mean, physically going places, not like in our relationship, obviously. So it hurt. I was very hurt.
And how did you handle the situation with Deanna after she confirmed it?
I asked her like how long it had been going on, and she told me that. She said that they had not slept together, but they were romantic, and they saw each other often and hung out, spent the night with each other, that sort of thing. No, no. I never yelled at her. No, not at all. She didn't even know that we were still together. She was under the impression that we were broken up, so it wasn't really, I didn't blame her for anything, you know. At that point, I waited for Matt to get back to Borrego Springs. I think he was coming back the next day. And so I went over to where he was staying at his dad's at that point and confronted him.
Yes.
You're showing me this been marked as Exhibit 692. You recognize that?
Yes.
Do you have any idea when that photo's from?
That would have been taken in 2001 or 2 after we broke up. I think it was 2002, early.
I have no objection, but I'm really having a hard time hearing her. I don't know what date it was, if she could just tell us again.
Sure. Yeah, it was around late 2001 or early 2002, sometime in one of those years. It was after our breakup.
Exhibit 692 is admitted.
All right, is that
That's Matt and I. I know it was taken after we broke up because that's at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and he moved to Ventana after I did, so. Yes. There were tears, and he cried, I cried. It was difficult. Well, it just seemed, I don't know that one person really broke up with the other. It's just that the relationship was over. He was seeing somebody else, you know. Obviously, he had moved on in some way because he was seeing somebody else. But we just were no longer together at that point. Yes, I was living in Ashland at that point. Yes, he and his girlfriend lived there too. Right.
and were you friends?
Yeah, I did. Through them. Yes, I met his girlfriend's brother. Right. His name is Richard Millay.
Of what
He was eventually a reference for me to get a job down in Monterey County again so that I could leave Southern Oregon. It was kind of a sentimental place for Matt and I. I just wanted to get out of that area in a way now that we were broken up. He was working at a resort called Ventana Inn and Spa, and it's in Big Sur, California.
you describe what Big Sur, California is like?
Right. It's more, it has its own zip code, but it's more a region than a city. There is not a lot of development there. It's a protected area, and it's roughly 28, 30 miles south of Monterey, and it's directly on the coast. Right, big cliffs like plummeting into the Pacific. That's that area. It is, yeah. Well, I had talked to Kit. I told Kit and his girlfriend, I believe, that we broke up. Matt and I broke up. It was one of them suggested maybe you should go work at Ventana. I said, well, where's that? And so we waited until her brother, he takes a vacation every year. And so Richard Molay. And he goes to specific places every year on his vacation, and one of those places is to visit his sister. So when they were coming up, we decided to all meet. We were actually building something, a teepee in the forest at their property. So we spent the day together doing that, and so that he could get to know who I am, to see if I was somebody that would be a good reference. Right. Yes. He did. Yes, I went down for an interview, and I was hired. Well, you drive forever on a windy road on the coast, Highway 1, and then Ventana is in the mountains. There's a view of the ocean roughly 1,100 feet up. It's a 4-star resort. It's a beautiful place. It has not really like bungalows, but there are like rooms there. It's an inn. It's pricey. The restaurant is nice. I'd say it's the nicest place I've ever worked. Yes. I was waiting tables there as well. Yes. Well, they have employee housing there. So I got on a waiting list for that, and there was a place opening up in about 2 weeks. Similar. It's not a dorm, though. They're like little small condos, more so. Yes. Right? Yes. No. I stayed in the campground. Yes. Well, they have a campground on the property as well. There's a canyon, and so in the canyon, like a redwood canyon, they have campground spots. So I stayed there. Matt did not get hired at Borrego Springs, so he also came, and we set up a big thing there and just stayed in the campground for 2 weeks. And then I got housing, and he remained in the campground. There were some other employees there too that stayed there. Right. It was in the off season. So October, it's the off season. Summer is the height of their season. So sometimes the campground will fill up in the summer, so that's not available. But when it's open, you can stay there. 2 weeks roughly. Yes. Well, he needed a job. He had experience now with Crater Lake, so he was able to get. I think my boss was worried that. I remember he expressed concerns that I wouldn't stay there if Matt didn't get hired, because I told him that Matt was a friend of mine. We remained friends, and that he wanted.
Question like a foundation. Who's the boss?
Sorry.
Sustained.
Oh, boss. Sorry. Okay.
Still, lack of objection. Foundation. Who's the boss that she's talking about?
All right, overruled.
He did. Yeah, I was hired. I was hired on his birthday, which is October 20th, and he was hired, I believe, in early November. 2001. Yes, I got housing. He got housing eventually, but it was later. Yes. No. Yes, I had roommates, but no, not Matt. Not really. I mean, there's still some sentimentality there, but we know that we're not together. We're not being romantic much. I think there was some intimacy after our breakup, but it was very brief and it wasn't ongoing. We sort of became more friends, and then by that following spring, he moved away. Well, yeah, I believe I started like right in November. I got hired in October, and I went back to just tie up ends in Wairika and Southern Oregon, my cat, all that, and then I just moved down. Yes. Well, he came back eventually, but he did leave that spring. 3.5 years, maybe 4 years. I think it was more like 3.5. No, I did. Yes.
Let me show you what's been marked as Exhibit 693.
Yes.
Is this a picture taken at Ventana?
That's actually in Palm Desert.
Or is, oh, it's later.
Yeah, that's later. Right, yes. He was.
During this time that you were working in Ventana, you said you were working as a server.
Yes.
Did you ever get hired to do any type of hiking?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Another server there, who had been there for quite some time as well, started a company that was guiding hikes in the area. And
Tell us what his name is.
Steve Copeland, right?
He started a company?
Yes. He may have already had the company, but it was new to me. Like it was something that came up after I had been there for a while.
And did Mr. Copeland ever ask you to help him?
He did. We would just guide hikes to different destinations that were kind of like not really known except by the locals. So it was kind of special because you couldn't find it any other way. There were just secret trails and things that led to waterfalls or little coves where there were beaches, private beaches and things like that. They were mostly guests of Ventana. Yes. I took them on a few different places. Yes. Not very long, because I did it when I was available. The hikes usually were on a Saturday morning, so sometimes I would work at the restaurant, so I wasn't available, so he would just have somebody else fill in. So whenever I was available, I would do a hike. I don't recall how long that lasted. Yes. His name is Daryl Brewer. He did. He was the food and beverage director at the time, and he hired me. Right.
Beverage director, did you work with him directly?
Yes. Right. No.
Oh, did you hang out afterwards?
No, we didn't fraternize at all. We didn't fraternize at all. Right. Well, at one point he decided to step down from that position so he could spend more time with his son, and we were interested in each other at that point. We had a conversation that we discovered that, and so we sort of began to date. He's, at the time, he was 42. Yes, quite a bit. He was divorced. It was civil, but I think he was bitter about it. Yes.
How long did you work together before you started to become involved?
Um, a little over a year, I think. Well, about a year, because I remember just dates. So yeah, it was about a year. No, he was no longer my boss. Well, when he stepped down from that position that he had, he became sort of more of a supervisory role, and then he stepped down from that, I think, even, and became more of a like a lead server kind of thing. So he still had some authority when there were no other managers around, but he was nobody's boss really. He just made decisions if there was nobody else there to make them, and eventually he just became a regular server like all of us, so that he wasn't tied up in his work schedule. He had more time to be with his son. Flexibility in his schedule? Right, yes. He worked less hours. We were just sitting together one evening where were we? We were downstairs in an office, and we were just talking. Yeah, he was sitting at a table, I was at the table. We were just sitting there. Eventually we did, yes. Yeah, I did. He's close to 20 years older than me, about 19 years, 8 months, or 19 years, 9 months, something like that. Yeah, he's pretty much 20 years older than me. Um, Football. Yeah, that was one of the main things. One of our first dates was going to the 49er games. What else? I was into camping. That's something my family and I had done my entire life, so he liked to camp also. So we did that. I sort of became close to his, so that was,
First started dating.
no, I had seen him once or twice at the restaurant when he was there just with his dad. When his dad was it was like he wasn't really on the clock. I mean, he was a salary employee when he was manager. So I'd seen him, but I wasn't close with him. No,
So when you first started dating Mr. Brewer, did he bring his son around you right away?
I don't recall. His son came on the weekends, so I saw him early on, but I wasn't a big presence in his life at first.
Not a big presence.
No, at first.
And where was Mr. Brewer living?
He also lived in the staff housing. Yes, yes. It was in the fall 2002. I think it was November 2002. The previous May 2002, he moved to Vail, Colorado to work at a resort there, and he was still working there at that time. Yeah, roughly. I mean, we sort of fell off, like, we still called each other on occasion, and then just less and less and less as time went on. I did. Um, there would be no marriage in that relationship. That was my understanding.
Why did you have that?
Well, when we first began dating, he was very mature about it. He just told me, look, I don't want to ever get married again. I didn't even see myself having a girlfriend, but I like you. If you're okay with that, we can be together. And I was okay with that at that time. 22. Yes. Yes. We began going out on the weekends and doing things together, camping. Sometimes his son came with us camping. We'd go to the beach. We would go to the aquarium, the park, just different things.
Yes.
You exhibited 696, 695, and 694. Do you recognize them?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Any objection?
Foundation, the dates they were taken.
Sustained. Yes.
Right. I did. Interest? Okay, well, I became interested in photography when I was very young. I got my first camera. It was either Christmas or birthday. It was a present when I was 10. And that sparked my interest. I just progressed with that and continued to be interested in that. To be interested in that. I did, right. I decided to make it a profession, so I invested in a nicer camera. I began to, I bought nicer software for photo editing, and I began to photograph weddings, portraits, things like that. Yes, right. Yes. Yes. That was after we moved to Palm Desert, because that's right next to Palm Springs. You take the tram like straight up into the mountain. Oh, I believe, well, we moved there in 2005. It was either in 2005 or the year after. I believe it was that winter, probably.
I need to look at it and see which one she's talking about. No objection.
695 is admitted.
Objection reading.
Overruled.
Yes. That was at the top of the mountain. Right, that was just a day trip. Right. It was, yeah, it was either during or right after. Mhm. Yes, by that point, gosh, we're coming up on like 3 years, I think. Yes. Um, well, that year I remember we went to Chuck E. Cheese's. That was in Palm Desert, the one you're referring to. And that was in either 2005 or 6. I think it was 2005 because his wife was still there because she was at the party, his ex-wife. Right, yeah.
Any objection?
Objection where? Did you say the second Chuck E. Cheese?
Yes, repeat where it was taken.
Was that Chuck E. Cheese's?
No,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
no objection.
696 is admitted.
That is just the three of us. He's celebrating his birthday. He had friends there. His mom was there. Yes.